System Francine making a landfall. You can hear there as we were actually taking a lot of views there, Tania, where you can see there were whiteout conditions in a couple of areas as that system made a landfall, actually moved in near Terrebonne, Louisiana, and that's one of the parishes there, about 30 miles to the south of Morgan City, Louisiana. But now it's about 65 miles south and west of New Orleans. But the actual center of the storm being 60 miles to the south and west, we actually are seeing some of the more potent winds on that northern eye wall.
And check this out, Wes. This is video from our sister station at WVUE in New Orleans as the eye wall moved through Delac.
Yeah, so again, that's our Channel 8, our sister station there out in New Orleans, but you can see some of the videos coming in. A lot of the parishes, a lot of the areas there in South Louisiana, that's an area very prone, of course, to flooding with these all too common, seeing these tropical systems move in. This is not a, it's not a Katrina level hurricane. It's a larger hurricane to the east of the center. There's certainly a big swell with this. They're dealing with coastal flooding, storm surge. I believe it was up to a foot storm surge possibility, even along the Alabama Gulf Coast at this time. We're seeing those water levels rising. Could see over 4-foot storm surge in those areas. But I want to go to the absolute latest on this, Tania, as we track the tropical system moving in. You can see the northern eye wall. That's where the worst of this storm is currently located, and that's likely if we do have hurricane force wind gusts likely happening in this area. There's Thibodaux, Louisiana, and you can see Hammond and New Orleans, and with this shifting to the east here, some of the more intense winds and heavier rain, you can see that's now impacting the New Orleans area. Earlier today, Plaquemines Parish, I noticed there was a tornado warning. There's actually a tornado watch that is in effect for this area right now. But that's a look at the radar. Here's a live look from Leeville, Louisiana, and you can see there the visibility is really going downhill. Actually looks like we lost the sensor there at one point. I noticed we had some tropical storm force wind gusts happening there, and wow, the conditions really going downhill. This is right there around I-10 and Lake Pontchartrain. You can see 75 degrees. The winds gusting up to 53 miles per hour at this time, so they're dealing with those 50+ mile per hour wind speeds with the system. Look at I-10 Chafalaya Basin area there, seeing those breezy conditions happening, but traffic moving along, at least the visibility not terrible. There's Donaldsville, Louisiana, seeing that blowing rain, not total whiteout conditions here at this area, seeing those gusts up to 41 miles per hour. These are all live views that we're bringing you here, and a live look from Baton Rouge at this time, 76 degrees, and starting to see those winds gusting there around tropical storm force. But you can see for folks there, they are still just driving along, and it's just a lot of wind and a lot of rain at this time for that area. But the outer band starting to move into southwest Alabama. Here's Baldwin County, there's Mobile County, and you can see now moving from offshore, those outer bands wrapping south to north into far southwest Alabama. And I was noticing offshore, this is the thing, these outer bands, these feeder bands that wrap into these tropical systems, you see how we have these little cells here. Sometimes they can start to rotate, and I was noticing, looking at our rotation tracker, there's a little bit of spin with some of those out there, and that's the kind of thing we need to watch out for as this moves further inland. But the wind speeds right now, I mean, we're not seeing, 200 mile per hour winds with this, but sustained winds 50, 60 miles per hour from most of the observations that we're seeing at the moment there over South Louisiana. But also I am noticing those winds starting to pick up there around places like Mobile as this system moves further inland. But the strongest winds with this staying well south and west of us. I just want to stress across Alabama, we're going to be in fine shape for most of this evening. It's late tonight that steadier rain starts to move in, and the system is going to weaken quickly as it moves to the north. But you can see tomorrow morning around 5 a.m. those outer bands start to move in, and early in the day when you hit the road tomorrow morning, certainly factor in some extra drive time because we could have some wind gusts out there. We have wind advisories in effect for tomorrow. We could have some gusts that may top 35, 40 miles per hour, especially across West Alabama. And it's not just the western part of the state, the entire area. It's going to be a windy, rainy day set up throughout the day. Now, I'm not expecting hurricane force winds, anything like that, but it is going to be quite breezy. Might see a few random power outages, but a lot of much needed rain. That's the one good thing about this system. And as the day goes on, we get into the afternoon, one thing I'm really watching in here, notice Birmingham points to the east. We see some of those bands of heavier rain wrapping into the system. These are the kind of areas as we heat up during the day, we really have to watch for that threat of isolated tornadoes. So So midday into the afternoon along and east of Interstate 65, make sure you are weather alert, checking the weather app, listening out in case there are alerts on your NOAA weather radio. And tomorrow night and into the day on Friday, this same area in here, we'll have to keep an eye, especially as we heat up again on Friday, get that added instability. There could be, again, another threat for isolated tornadoes. So we'll need to watch that. And listen, it's going to be breezy tomorrow as that system moves through. So scan the code on your screen to download the WPRC First Alert Weather app on your mobile device. We'll be keeping you updated on Francine, the developments, always right here. We have the team and we have you covered. But heading now to West Alabama, where impacts will be felt as early as tomorrow morning. Standing by, we have meteorologist Lauren Linehan joining us now live from the First Alert Storm Tracker. Lauren, we're getting out ahead of this, watching what's on the way. What's the scene like in West Alabama?
Well, Wes, we actually got out of the storm tracker. We're at the park at Manderson Landing along the Black Warrior River, and we just missed it. A little boat came right by us called the Miss Morgan, but hey, you know, we're always a child at heart. Did the little tug, and it sure beeped right back at us. So we love seeing that. Honestly, you can see most waves we've seen here on the Black Warrior River have just been because that boat came through. But we're actually beginning to see the winds picking up just a little bit here. It may not seem like much. The movement we're honestly seeing with the water is in the wake of that boat coming through. But I will tell you, honestly, you wouldn't know that there is a hurricane that just made landfall in Louisiana because it is so quiet here along the river. It's honestly very tranquil. We've only seen gusts today at about 17 miles per hour, but you can see how the river is moving just in the wake of that boat that just came through. It's just not quite as tranquil anymore. But we still got overcast skies here as we approach sunset, but we haven't even had a drop of rain yet. I just checked the radar, and the closest rain is about 35 miles away down the road in Utah. So we've got maybe about 2-3 hours here before we begin to see some sprinkles here in Tuscaloosa. So honestly, it's a really nice evening, cool, even though it's humid. That little bit of a breeze feels good, but that breeze is going to continue to pick up overnight. But what we're looking at as far as down the Black Warrior River, just really tranquil conditions. What I do want you to note weather-wise, actually, if you notice in the trees, if you look really closely, this is something I noticed in the storm tracker on the way down. This is not necessarily anything related to Hurricane Francine, but we are beginning to see some of the color already changing on the trees just a little bit. But hey, hurricane season, the peak of hurricane season occurs right as we're kicking off meteorological fall and headed towards astronomical fall in just a couple of weeks here, honestly less than 2 weeks. But I would say tonight, if you're in Tuscaloosa or really anywhere in central Alabama, just make sure before you go to bed that you make those preps, because even though the winds are honestly quite nice right now, the impacts are really going to be picking up here within the next 24 hours. And of course, we always want to be on guard for an isolated tornado threat as well. But this is truly the calm before the storm here in Tuscaloosa. But I imagine when we check back in with you tonight on First at 9, there should be some rain around. Maybe get to whip out our fancy new WBRC 6 news hoodie. So those will be nice to wear, getting the rain jacket out in the elements. But in the meantime, we'll check back in with you later. Meteorologist Lauren Linehan in Tuscaloosa, WBRC News on your side.
All right there, Lauren, great job. And you know, it's almost like we're waiting on winter weather to begin, right? We really need the rain around here, so it is nice that we do have some wet weather on the way. But as Lauren was talking about with those wind speeds, we want to go right now to meteorologist Tania Michelle. Tania, we have wind advisories in effect for tomorrow. It's going to be a breezy day.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Those winds really starting to pick up in those overnight hours just as we bring in your Thursday. It really starts tonight at midnight and will extend all throughout your Thursday. We're going to see easterly winds sustained at about 15 to 25 miles per hour, but those winds gusting up 30 to even 40 miles per hour. So if you have some time this evening, especially before the wet weather pushes through, go ahead and secure and make sure those outdoor objects are tied down and that they won't be blown around in the winds as they pick up over the next 24 hours or so. So notice right now we're still seeing winds gusting up maybe around 10 miles per hour. Areas to the south closer to 20, so a little bit breezier down in Demopolis. As we continue, though, into your early Thursday, that's when we start to see those winds picking up closer to 30, if not 40 miles per hour. 42-mile-per-hour winds there in Demopolis, 38 in Greensboro. And we could see occasional winds gusting up closer to 50. This is Thursday, just around 9 a.m. That easterly wind will continue. Those gradient winds will be the main issue as that system begins to bring us those impacts, not just the rain, but of course, those gusty conditions. Here we are Thursday night, starting to see some improvements in those windy conditions, but those winds still gusting up closer closer to 20, if not 30 miles per hour. So here's a look at those headlines. First low weather day in effect through this evening and into your Friday morning. Rain increasing late tonight. We'll see those winds gusting and topping over 35 miles per hour starting tomorrow. And that isolated tornado threat, as Lauren and Wes have been mentioning, is in effect as we bring in your Thursday. So you definitely want to make sure you have multiple ways to receive weather information and some other ways you can be prepared. One, secure those loose outdoor objects. Heavy rain, you want to make sure those drains and those gutters are nice and cleared out as well. And again, make sure you have multiple ways to receive updates. Our weather app, your mobile devices need to stay charged tomorrow, even having that weather radio on hand. Well, in 30 seconds, we take another quick check on your radar and check in with our friends in West Alabama who are preparing for the storm's arrival. We'll be right back. You're watching First Alert Weather Extra.
Right now, Hurricane Francine has made landfall. Live look from Orange Beach from our sister station WALA in Mobile. And at this time, we have tropical storm warnings in effect for Mobile and Baldwin counties in South Alabama. We're not seeing tropical storm warnings in our area, but we do have wind advisories that will go into effect for tomorrow. Again, as we checked in live a few moments ago with meteorologist Lauren Linehan, one thing you noticed, a lot of clouds, a nice breeze out there, which is actually just the icing on the cake as far as how it feels out there this evening, really helping us out. We have temperatures cooling off into the 70s. The good thing is we have some much needed rainfall on the way. But one question you've been asking, I've seen this a lot, how about the weekend? How is this going to impact my Saturday and my Sunday? And I know we have high school football coming up again for Friday night. There's a chance. Now, this system's going to be much weaker. I want to stress by the weekend, it's just a leftover, remnant circulation. But there's going to be enough instability out there or disturbance close by to where we're going to see clouds and a few scattered showers and storms into Friday evening. I think areas to the east and northeast have the greatest chance for some of that rain. So, yes, there could be some wet weather impacts going into Friday evening. As for Saturday and Sunday, not a total washout this weekend, but there will be some scattered showers around, possibly a storm Saturday and Sunday. A lot of games happening out of town this weekend, so I know a lot of you may be traveling and leaving town a bit sooner. So if you're traveling for Alabama fans of Wisconsin, looks dry there. Kickoff temperatures in the 70s, 85 at Arkansas for UAB fans. Jacksonville State fans kickoff at 82 at East Michigan, and at Auburn we have that 40% chance for scattered showers and storms. But we have team coverage on potential impacts from Francine. Our neighbors in West Alabama getting ready for whatever the storm could bring. Your reporter Brian Henry giving us a look at what folks in Centerville are doing in making preparations.
So our guys will be patrolling constantly.
Centerville Mayor Mike Oakley knows all too well what a storm can do.
This weather is the most uncertain thing.
The mayor anticipates Centerville getting 2 to 3 inches of rain from Hurricane Francine. Mayor Oakley says his town of around 3,000 is prepped, ready, and on guard. History tells them never underestimate what the clouds can deliver.
We've been through this drill so many times that and people watch the news and weather, and everybody who works knows that, hey, we got to be on alert.
For Centerville, being on alert means meeting with its county EMA director to make sure everybody is on the same page.
Just to make sure vehicles are fueled up, all of our equipment is running, oiled up, ready to go, chainsaws.
Mayor Mike Oakley doesn't have a lot of concern about the Cahaba River overflowing in town because of what the U.S. Corps of Engineers did years ago. It's the lower lying areas of town that could become an issue, away from the downtown square.
The Corps of Engineers have done downriver at the mouth of the Cahaba River and the Alabama River. It has greatly reduced the flooding that we see, although the river still gets up.
Centerville is ready to receive Hurricane Francine's best punch, hoping for the best, preparing for the worst.
Well, let's take a check in now with our sister station WAFB down in Baton Rouge, where many military vehicles are preparing to roll out if needed.
Right now, we're in Westwego at the Alario Center taking a look at some of the conditions now that Hurricane Francine is a Category 2 storm. We're also seeing a lot of the Louisiana National Guard set up shop right here in the parking lot. You're taking a look at a lot of the different Humvees. We have the rescue boats and a lot of those high water vehicles also parked here, ready to go. We've been following them all throughout the West Bank, and they have been checking in with some of the lower lying areas here throughout Westwego, Marrero, Gretna, but for the most part, they're all now right here situated in the Alario Center parking lot, waiting for things to worsen. Hopefully they don't worsen, but if they do, they'll be ready to deploy and head out wherever they're needed. But for now, reporting here in Westwego.
And don't go anywhere. We'll have more right here on First Alert Weather Extra, talking more about the preparations for Francine's landfall as it continues to move through. And we're going to take you to the tropics. We're watching other developments. You're watching First Alert Weather Extra, and we'll be right back.
And welcome back in. We're tracking Hurricane Francine. We have a live look from Baton Rouge from our sister station WAFB. We're talking about some rough weather there happening, of course, in South Louisiana at this time. We've got the road conditions from Francine Landing from our sister station WVUE. You can see there a lot of water on the roadways already. This road, it typically fills with water during storms, but that area certainly being folks encouraged to stay off the roadways, obviously, with that high water moving in. I wanted to go over to our Apple TV source, so I wanted to bring this up. And actually, are we going back to Lauren? Okay, so we're going back to meteorologist Lauren Linehan. Lauren, we were just showing some of the videos there out of New Orleans, and I know, of course, you're live in West Alabama, and you were mentioning earlier that breeze starting to pick up, not quite as windy as later on tonight, but I was going to show some video. We'll get to that here in a few moments of some of the storm surge starting to see there in South Louisiana.
Yeah, Wes, it's a very different story, a 180 from what we're seeing on the coast right now with Hurricane Francine. I mentioned earlier I'm in Tuscaloosa at the landing at the park at Manderson Landing, and you'll notice behind me the Black Warrior River is quiet. It's so still. The only waves we've been seeing have been from a boat that just came by earlier, really the one lone boat out on the river tonight. But what I do want to note is that what we're seeing with Tuscaloosa for tomorrow with the forecast is there's actually expected to be some decent rainfall. Tuscaloosa being in West Alabama, west of that I-65 corridor, could get at least a good 2 to 3 inches of rain, possibly higher totals than that from Francine. So even though it won't necessarily be a hurricane by the time it gets here, when those rain bands, the outer rain bands come in tonight within the next couple of hours, that's going to be starting a trend towards some beneficial rainfall. Here in Tuscaloosa, right along the Black Warrior River, we actually are at moderate drought conditions right now. And so the river, Tuscaloosa itself, West Alabama, Tuscaloosa County could really use some beneficial rainfall from Francine. And we're actually getting into that time of the year when the months are pretty dry. This is one of our driest times of the year here in Alabama, in the Birmingham metro and central Alabama. And one thing you almost hope for, as long as they don't cause any problems, the way to get beneficial rainfall, especially when you're in drought conditions, is to see a tropical system like Francine coming through. So there are certainly some things we want to give you the first alert about, which of course we want to watch for localized flooding, also a wind threat, but also an isolated tornado threat tomorrow. But looking at the positive side of things, we really do need some beneficial rainfall. And if we get enough rainfall, we could see some rising levels here along the Warrior River. But we'll check back in with you tonight on First at 9.
All right, and this is some of that video I wanted to show you. This just in. This is from Josh Robertson with our sister station in New Orleans, Channel 8, and just to kind of show you how quickly, he was just amazed by how quickly this storm surge comes in, and just look how quickly already seeing some of the, you can just tell from the seaweed over the roadways there that the high water, it just comes in a hurry, but they're dealing with already some of that surge happening in those areas. And again, there will be a bit of a storm surge that happens down into far southwest Alabama as well. And I believe we're going to check out, do we want to go to the forecast right now? We'll try to bring in some of the forecast graphics here, and let's take a look at our first alert Super 7-day forecast. And what we're going to be seeing here first off is the heaviest of the rain moving in late tonight, but as Lauren was noting, those showers are still south of Tuscaloosa, but starting to see some of that steadier rain lifting to the north. You can see Demopolis over towards Selma. That's going to be moving to the north direction here, and heaviest of the rain just as we head out tomorrow morning, making its way into the western part of Alabama. Here's a look at some of the forecast data tonight. You can see how the models bring this in, and some wind gusts possible early in the day, could top 35, 40 miles per hour back to the southwest. I'm not expecting hurricane force winds. I mean, we're hardly seeing hurricane force winds down along the Gulf Coast, so nothing like that, but we could have some tropical storm force wind gusts perhaps as this moves to the north. And then as we go throughout the day, there's 11:30 in the morning. You can see into the afternoon how this band sets up right here. And what's going on is this is wrapping into the center of the tropical system, and as that center moves north and almost stalls out, really slows down, it just kind of leaves this axis of heavier rain right here for central and eastern areas as we go through the afternoon, tomorrow night, and also into the day on Friday. So that's one of those locations. Just have to watch for that risk of an isolated tornado, but also the risk for some localized flooding. But we'll see the worst of this move on by. Some leftover scattered showers, though, and storms possible for this weekend. Gradual improvements, but Saturday and Sunday, we will be talking about those rain chances. We'll have one final check on our forecast as we continue on Weather Extra. All right, 7-day forecast. Next couple of days, Tania, some rain, much needed rainfall. And I know we're talking a lot about this thing. We're not expecting hurricane force winds around here, but there will be a wind advisory. This will be a breezy day tomorrow, certainly impactful.
Yeah, and we just want to tell everyone to be prepared, not scared. Just make sure you secure those outdoor objects and make sure you have multiple ways to receive weather information in case we do get that isolated tornado threat.
Yeah, hopefully no warnings tomorrow, but we'll be here watching it for you. Make sure you have the First Alert Weather app. We're watching it for you tonight. Lots of updates, more weather every 6 minutes, as we say, starting at 9 o'clock. Join us right here on WBRC.
Have a good evening. Oh, ready. All right, let's do it in 3, 2,